This is NBA Talk. I'm Erik Torenberg, joined by special guest Dan Barto, Head of Player Development at IMG Academy, along with my co-hosts Reuben Torenberg and Frak. Let's dive in.
Hey Dan,
Incorporated.
Big time. Great to see you. Great to formally introduce you, Reuben.
Good to meet you, Dan. He looks faster on the highlights than he does sitting down.
Don't let the highlights fool you.
We were just talking about Embiid questionable for the next game. Sixers without Embiid looks tough.
You like it with Embiid or without Embiid?
Well, I would prefer without Embiid as a Knicks fan,
right?
But I'm saying without Embiid, I don't even see it being close. I see sweep 5. I mean,
the thing I didn't account for, I guess, is I think that Kyle Lowry has really changed their locker room since he arrived. And, you know, I obviously when you're trying to win close games and you have that coach on the floor that's also in the locker room, I mean, he showed that he brought that to Miami and kind of kept them under wraps. And, you know, they're playing well right now, but I think they missed it a little bit as they went through their stretch here to fall into the play-in. And then he's gotten there, and Philadelphia's kind of overachieved with and without him.
Yeah. So you're somewhat hopeful.
No, I'm rooting. I mean, I'm rooting for the Knicks, and all of my basketball intuition just says that Nick Nurse does himself no good by winning. Does that make sense? Like, the best thing he can do is lose without Embiid, and then Philadelphia 76ers fans have hope. Tobias Harris leaves, then you start talking about who the next guy in is and what other things they're going to put around Embiid. And, you know, again, it's going to be the offseason of the most star movement we ever saw. So if he gets to the second round and then they get blasted, like, now that's the bar.
Right. What happened to Tobias Harris?
I think it's just a bad, I think now he went from playing with one ball stopper to playing with two ball stoppers, and if they had more shooters, he'd be better, but he needs space. He's like Jimmy Butler, you know what I mean? Like, look at what Miami's doing right now without Jimmy Butler on the floor. Like, when you have a guy that's high volume, that pounds the ball and needs his angles, it's, it can freeze other guys out.
Dan, before we get into the weeds, first we want to briefly introduce you as our guest. How would you characterize your expertise? I'll briefly start by saying I met you at IMG Basketball Academy over a decade ago, both as a player and an intern for you, and you have expertise both on the game in terms of coaching and training and becoming a better player, but also on the league and how sort of the business of the NBA operates and how that often influences where teams go and what teams have and where players go and what they have the capabilities to do. And I haven't met many people or anyone really who has that expertise on both areas. I've met some people who really understand the business. I've met some people who really understand the game, but not many people who understand both. How would you characterize? Do you agree with that characterization?
Yeah, I just think that I'm one of the unique few people that gets to see kids' careers from 10 years old and then pros' careers up until they're 35. So we have our hands on, until Endeavor sold us, we were at IMG, we were, we're the dealing with one of the top private school. I don't even want to say top private school. I just want to say, like, there's such a unique destination for all types of people. But my vast knowledge comes from, I've just been in a position where you see 12-year-olds on a yearly basis and you see pros on a yearly basis, and you talk to parents, but you talk to agents, you talk to college coaches, you watch guys rise from here and fall, you got guys watch rise and make $100 million. And then again, it introduces you to people at the youth sports level to NBA owners. It's just, we have NBA owners, kids in camp every summer, and we have a vast, and when you're independent and you're not I'm not in a transactional position, so I have access to information because there's no transaction at the end of the day. I'm just learning or trying to help, and so you just acquire so much generalist information, and then you can tie the dots. And there's not too many. People are either youth specific, college specific, pro specific, business specific, and this gives you the ability to be a generalist in all of it.
Yeah,
and connect the dots.
And that's a great description. We're gonna let our other co-host in, Frak. Frak, thanks for joining us.
Sorry for being late and just proving the rapper stereotype correct.
But Dan, Frak is a rapper. You can think of him as something of like the De'Aaron Fox of battle rap.
I'm glad you said that instead of Kevin Herter.
He's an up-and-coming star.
Hey, don't hate on Kevin Herter. We showed film of Kevin Herter coming off screens to our campers.
He's great. Yeah, he's amazing. But Frak is at a almost elite level. I'm just kidding. He's in the top 20, top 25, top 15.
Damn, last time you said top 10, man. Have I fallen off?
Kings were better last year.
Holy shit.
No, I'm just kidding. But Frak is also a hooper and avid hoops talker with us, so we thought we'd have him in. So Dan was just describing his background. One question before we get into hoops. Dan, did you have a sense that this is how your career would shape up? Like, did you ever consider going to coach in college or elsewhere, or do you think, hey, I just have the best purview, this is my interest?
I think I've had enough opportunity to grow here that those new starts with high risk. Like, again, I was here before there was no gyms. Now we have 8 courts, and we're building we're building more and more stuff every day. So the appeal of college and pro at the different life points, it just was more fun to be here and continue to learn. I'm a lifelong learner, and when you get to the NBA, you kind of become the rebounder or the blame guy if someone's shot isn't fixed, or it's just it becomes zero sum, and this is pretty positive sum environment here.
Totally. We're excited to do this podcast, do a few episodes together. We hope to get into the game behind the game and the business behind the game that maybe the casual fan might not appreciate. And even in our group chats in the last few days, you've been dropping some knowledge bombs or some alternative ways to think about things. So let's get into it. First, because we were talking about it before we started, and because it's of most importance to me, let's talk about the Knicks Sixers series. Let's talk about anything non-obvious people should be looking out for. What does this mean to both teams? And predictions, and maybe Dan, you could just build off what you were just saying, which is you're saying, hey, if you're Nick Nurse, maybe winning isn't what you want. So what does it mean for the Sixers?
I mean, you have the two coaches are the ultimate competitors, and they've been there, but Thibodeau's job's kind of riding on it to a certain degree, and he can't blame injuries because people will say he's partly responsible for those injuries.
Because of minutes played and the intensity that they practice and the drills that they constantly do to perform at a high level. And I do think that, Nick Nurse is, I don't want to say this was supposed to be a rebuild year, but I don't think anybody went into it saying we're contending. And if they planned on contending, they probably would have been more aggressive at the deadline. And are you really going to be successful if you advance, or now is that just the bar? So anything under that, if you do have major injuries or if the offseason doesn't go well, now the Nick Nurse hire gets into question.
I think the Sixers are just in a tough spot. I mean, Kelly Oubre, Tobias Harris, it feels like they're Buddy Hield. These role players are kind of like, are they really winners? They're not long-term people you build around. It feels like it's a bunch of journeymen who just got together, who can all play, but it just doesn't feel like a winning team, and it doesn't feel like a future team. So it feels like feels like they got to blow it up. I'm kind of talking out of my ass here, but
Every Sixers
The
fan.
Knicks bias is crazy. He's already calling it like the season is over.
no, even if they win, they lose the second round, and what? It's just.
All right,
Man,
the
after-
matchup. Yeah, in fact, you go first.
No, you, Reuben.
The matchup that I'm looking at is who's guarding Maxey on the Knicks side. They're probably going to put Josh Hart on him. They might even put Anunoby on him. DiVincenzo is going to follow him around. Brunson's probably a little too slow. They want him, he carries a really heavy offensive load. So I'm looking at that matchup. And then how deep is Tibbs going to go into the bench? He was playing like 9-10 dudes all season. Historically in the playoffs, Tibbs plays the top 6-7 dudes a whole lot of minutes. And so is he going to trust? I hope he trusts the Hartensteins, the DiVincenzos, the Miles McBrides into the playoffs. But those are two big ones I'm looking at in the first couple games.
For me, I mean, Maxey, when they switch and if it's not Embiid, they're setting the ball screen, they're going to be able to push things out a little bit further, make the ball have to travel some more distance. And again, the Knicks are already going to do that because of their physicality in general and their defensive identity. I just, if Oubre and Harris and Batum decide they're going to shoot 48% from three, then the Knicks aren't going to be able to get into transition. So I think, again, it's going to come down to corner threes and transition threes. And if Philadelphia makes a couple, they can keep it interesting with or without Embiid. If they don't make them and they run them off the line and Knicks can get out in transition and Brunson can dictate where the ball is going to go, I cannot see Philadelphia, keeping it close.
Yeah, and beat on those pick and rolls in the drop coverage he was playing the other day. Just it looks tough to guard Brunson that way. Hopefully, we get McBride on Maxey for a bunch of minutes. Yeah, Dan, I'm already flash forwarding. So I'm Knicks in 5.
What about Batum? That's why the F Batum in.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he can run up and down the court for 5 games. That, again, the fatigue issue and Maxey carrying a load and Tobias Harris with 1 foot out the door, they just don't have the stickiness that, the Villanova Knicks have.
Who picks up Tobias Harris in the office? Like,
Stop acting. You see, you're just so Knicks are going to win. You're just acting like this is going to be a big bust for the Sixers and it's over.
Watch Tobias up 30 in game 1.
I mean,
everybody wants to get paid this summer. He probably has one. I'm guessing it'll be a high number deal for short years, and somewhere where there's a little bit more space.
Charlotte, like where's he going to go? Who's going to pick him up?
He's only 31.
But who wants him at that price?
I think people, people like people do like his versatility, shot making, and some of the game has shifted back to some guys that can make some mid range. He's been relatively healthy, so I mean, there's value there. It's just, is the value $30 million a year?
I got one for you. The Spurs.
Oh.
Get him a little bit on the cheap. They've got cap space. They got to pay people.
But Dan just said he's not
Trae Young.
for cash.
I saw a stat today that was like 16 teams with the winning record. Hold on, let me pull it. I just saw it. But it was a 3-point. All 16 teams that shot above the league average or better from the 3-point line won at least 46 games. So the teams that didn't would be interested in Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
The teams that don't have somebody that's going to stop the ball in the mid post are going to be interested in Tobias Harris. The teams that have guys that are beat up and injured are going to be interested in Tobias Harris. I don't think the Knicks are going to take him, or the Celtics, so he's not going to haunt the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
It's interesting hearing Coach Dan's perspective about the coach's pressure, because I agree. I think with Nurse and the pressure there, but I feel like for the players, it's kind of the other way around. Like, I feel like the Sixers players, at least Embiid and the Stars, are under more pressure in this series. And I think the Knicks, kind of for the reason you were pointing out, T-Bird, the Knicks kind of have a future. Like, it seems like they have this upward momentum, and that they're going to sign a big free agent, or they're going to continue moving upwardly. Whereas like Embiid now has this kind of narrative on him as this guy who chokes in the playoffs, and like I feel so bad for him because he's always like barely injured like right before, so it's like this 80% version of him that's getting scrutinized. But it's like, I think because of that, and because of what you pointed out, is that they kind of have a bunch of older journeymen and then Maxi. The Sixers are kind of on, even though they're the 7th seed, they're under a lot of pressure to like figure this series out and have to do it. But I kind of, just because you're in this podcast, Erik, I'm gonna go with the Sixers in 7.
All right, let's get our predictions in. Right, Sixers win, and how many?
7.
All right. Dan, Reuben, what's your take?
Dan, you go first.
I'm going Knicks in 5 as well.
I'm going Knicks in 7.
Wow, that'd be a hell of a game 7. Okay, let's
Tired
transition.
of Embiid.
And yeah, unless Embiid is currently in Dubai, then he could come back like Superman, and it could be 76ers in 4.
Yeah, no, I will eat my words if the Sixers pull together something impressive. I'm certainly rooting for them individually. I like those guys. The Bucks and the Pacers.
This one is spicy.
Is this an upset? What are we thinking here? How are we looking at
Which
this
way is the upset? Because the
There's no
Pacers
Giannis.
the Pacers have won what, like 3 or 4 of the games this season, right?
Yep.
It's a tough matchup for.
Yeah.
Or 4 or 5 because they played him in season.
Dan, who you got, Bucks or Pacers?
I mean, replacing 30 points a game for the Bucks is going to be tough. They can run a little bit more, they do have the athletic wings. I can never say his name right. Buchkamp and Andre Jackson and Connaughton can come in and play with some pace. But I just feel like, the Pacers are favored in game 1. If they can steal one in Milwaukee, someone has a voodoo doll in the Bucks a little bit this year with the whole coaching thing. And I just feel like everybody's rooting for the Pacers. So now there's like positive energy coming from, 31 other cities that are rooting against the Bucks as well. And again, the Pacers have been so fun to watch, and they share the ball and everybody touches it. And TJ McConnell's scoring 20 points in games, and
He's the best.
and I'm not totally convinced he can stay on the court all the time in your men's league.
I'm the TJ McConnell of battle rap, Erik.
On his bad nights, he does not look like, he looks like he just showed up from the men's league. But the way he scores there, but the thing that keeps the Bucks in it is, they're going to keep the Giannis narrative going, and then if he shows back up,
What's the projection? Like 1 to 2 weeks or something?
I mean, it's a low calf strain, which is, potentially a partially torn upper Achilles. With the right type of therapy and nutrition and things can turn around pretty quickly. But does he decide to play on an 80% high Achilles rip or strain or something going on with his calf that could be totally devastating? And does he have 2 foot, 1.5 feet out the door to Brooklyn?
Wow. Is that your prediction where he goes?
I mean, it's going to be the biggest offseason of star moves ever. Like, at what point is he going to start worrying about his own brand?
That one felt oddly specific. There's some intel here.
And he just signed a fat extension.
They have the assets and the money. That's it. I have zero intel. I did meet Giannis's agent one time many moons ago when he sent some pre-draft guys here, but I have zero insight other than
We got a Barto bomb.
these guys need to if they don't capitalize on their own brand in the right time, it just haunts them emotionally.
Reuben, what are you looking at?
I got Bucks in 7 is what I listed.
And me too.
The logic behind it, I'm obviously nervous about Giannis not coming back. I think Halliburton just hasn't been the same dude ever since he came back from that crazy split hamstring injury. Looks like more than just a hammy, but I mean, he's back and he's playing. To Dan's point, like they move the ball beautifully. I'm a fan of anyone who moved like Spurs 14, Hawks when they won 60 games. Like I love those teams. I think it's the ball has energy and when it moves, it's contagious. I just think like the Bucks have just a ton of star power. Like Dame's going to play well. He's got more space with Giannis out, less ball stoppage. Middleton's been really good since he's been back. Brooks swatting everything at the rim, although Miles Turner is really good too. I just think like, and I'm not a fan of Doc either, but I think they find a way to pull it out in 7. I just think like the Pacers are just 1 year too early to really make a deep run in the playoffs.
Frak,
I think Dame carried more of a load than he planned on, and that's where I think the 7 games is going to get tough. And he loses one of his best ball screeners and a guy that gets him downhill when he kicks the ball out. But again, if Milwaukee plays athletic and fast and Dame is rested, then we're going to see some 143, 141 games, and I hope it goes 7.
Yeah. But do you think it's Pacers in 6, or what do you think?
Me, I'm saying Pacers in 5. I think Milwaukee's going to mail it in too, just like the 76ers.
What's the over/under on Bobby Portis technicals? 3?
I would love to see Portis break out. He's playing well.
I'm just hoping they play. If Giannis is out, I'm hoping they play Andre Jackson Jr. 25 minutes a game.
He's locked down.
I haven't seen him.
I've said it since the draft last year. Like, just take the handcuffs off, let him shoot through his woes, and he's a guy that could come in and give Halliburton fits in the second unit. He's a guy in the second unit that could keep McConnell out of the paint on a consistent basis if they decide to go big. Like, that's the stuff that, if I just don't, Doc's too traditional to do it. And I think Carlisle will steal one even if Giannis plays in Milwaukee.
Yeah. Frak, what's your pick?
I'm more interested in stealing game balls. Who's gonna steal the game ball after every game? But it's tough,
bring
man.
Oscar Tshiebwe up.
Huh?
They're gonna bring back Oscar Tshiebwe from the G League.
I think that I could only make a prediction like hedging on how many games Giannis plays. Like I don't want to act like that's not the determining factor. If Giannis plays 4 games, I'd have the Bucks, maybe in 7. If he's like, I think the Bucks can get 1 or 2 without him. I think Dame is a playoff performer, and he took some really weak Portland teams way further than they should have gone. You know what I'm saying? Reuben, don't look at me like that, man.
Reuben's a diehard Blazers fan.
That's my New Jersey somewhere.
I could see
got
Dame.
My Brandon Roy jersey.
I could see Dame stepping up in a big way in this series, but I do think they need at least a few Giannis games.
Don't forget Pat Connaughton, other former Blazer great.
I've been a bit of a Halliburton hater ever since he won up to Wally Zerbiak and made our guy look so bad. So I want Milwaukee to win, but I think if I'm a betting man, I'll take Pacers in 6. Also, I'd prefer that for the Knicks too. So let's segue to the 4 and 5, the Cavs versus the Magic. Dan, what are you looking at this series?
The Magic young guards defensively have outkicked their coverage all year. They tend to place. I don't want to say smaller, but Wagner and Banchero aren't giants in there, and it allows the length of the guards to really play play some one-on-one. I think Mosley's newer. It's been good. They're fully bought in. So if they can survive the punch, if they can take the punch, there's enough. Just like we talked about with the Sixers, I think the Cavs fall into that. I mean, we keep Donovan Mitchell's opting out, and does Garland want to be the man? Is Jared Allen the right guy? Is JB Bickerstaff the right coach? Mosley seems to have a united group that's long and focused on overachieving, and those games in Orlando will be wild. So, I'm looking forward to see if Orlando's bench can hang, and I'm also looking forward to see, can 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 the Cavs share the ball in a slow paced game, or will it become dribble, 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 step back, dribble, 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 try to get fouled, fall to the floor, and the Magic run down 5-on-3?
So who are you picking?
I'm taking the Magic. I'm here in Florida. It's been my team for 21 years. My
In how many?
team.
And how many? Magic
How
and
many
what?
games, Dan?
I'm going to go 7 with that one.
Wow.
Not helping NBA ratings at all, but
Amazing. Reuben, what are you thinking?
I'm curious to hear what you have, big bro. But I put down Magic in 6. I think to Dan's point, like the Cavs just seem like a team broken apart. They went on that like 17-1 run, looked awesome. Ever since Mitchell came back from injury, he just hasn't looked like the same dude. He was looking like an MVP candidate for like a solid month there. And just like, yeah, it's a lot of like your turn, my turn with him and Garland. Like they're kind of small. The Magic of just like a really cohesive defensive squad. I think Jonathan Isaac is the man and is going to be the X factor. He can guard anyone on any team at any time. And I just think it's going to be a rock fight. Neither of these teams have been great offensively over the last few months. And even though the Cavs did pick up some pieces who I really like Strus, Levert's been really good. I want Sam Merrill to play more. Whenever he plays, they play well. I just think they're going to stick with their guys. JB Bickerstaff's going to like live and die by his top 5. And I just don't think that lineup's got good enough spacing or good enough cohesion to hang for 6 games.
One thing tactically to look for too is just I don't want to say whoever makes more floaters is going to win, but it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in that high paint area. Garland and Mitchell are very, very good there. All of the Magic guards are improving there, but prefer to get all the way to the rim as Wagner and Banchero kind of flatten out and clear guys out with their bodies. So just something that will of interest that I'm curious to watch, because if Garland's hitting 11-foot floaters, that changes the whole course of everything.
I like Cavs in 6. I think I really like the way Cavs and Magic are positioned. I think in the East, the 4 teams that I like the most in terms of next year, if I'm looking right now, it's the Celtics, the Knicks, the Cavs, and the Magic. I just like how both teams are constructed. I know that there's some big offseason stuff happening with the Cavs, but even if they do lose Mitchell, I like their depth. But I think Cavs are just have more offensive options and more experience. But could be close, could get to 7, and Magic do have better cohesion, better unity under JV. So, but that's my pick. Frak, how about you?
I'm also Cavs in 6. My reasoning is that last year when the lights were too bright for Jared Allen, right? Like the Cavs got taken advantage of seemingly because the too big lineup like wasn't playable in a playoff series. And with this Magic team, their biggest weakness is shooting. Like they don't have much perimeter shooting. And Franz Wagner like hasn't turned out to be the shooter that some people thought he might be. Even though Banchero and him are constantly putting pressure on the rim. But I think it allows Cleveland to keep their two big lineup and maybe the Brights not be too bright and just kind of defend that paint and continue that like pretty great interior defense they have. And I just think they have more weapons on offense. So I think the matchup kind of favors them in that sense.
Let's segue to the Celtics versus right now the playing game is happening, but I think we'll just assume it's the Heat. Is it just Celtics and I'll say Celtics in 6. I'll say Heat give them a little bit of run for their money and continue to overachieve with sort of
Bulls in 5.
Exactly, and so continue to overachieve, but at some point I feel like they have to, I don't know, try to make a bigger move if they want to be a contender. But yeah, Dan, what do you think about the series and just the Heat in general?
I think the series could be more interesting without Jimmy Butler. I think the way the ball can move, and if they're playing Jovic and they're playing Bam and they're shooting the ball well like they're capable of, they just don't have the physicality defensively at the wing position to keep the two stars from doing what they need to do. And the same way, like it seems like Joe Mazzulla could be, in Miami, stay in Miami, be at the beach in Miami, and the Celtics team could show up at the game and they would sub each other. They would sub for each other and high five each other and be like, no, let's get him a couple extra buckets here late in the game. And but I do agree. I think it will go 6. I think the Heat will steal some stuff. And again, Celtics have been relatively injury free, so they're due.
Yeah,
I feel that way about the Nuggets. I got Celtics in 4. They're not messing around. I think this team is as legit as it gets. I think Holiday's like the perfect glue guy. If anyone's going to get injured, it's probably Porzingis. But I think they just got way too much firepower. And after that loss to the Heat last year, like I think they play a really beautiful brand of basketball, and they're going to put this one away quick.
Frak, how about you?
I mean, actually, now that Dan points it out, I'm remembering that Jimmy's out. So I think I got the Bulls winning that play-in game. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like DeRozan's been clutch this year, even though the Bulls are pretty trash. Kobe White, Caruso locking up.
No, Caruso hurt his ankle. He might be out.
They've 37 points at halftime, so good luck with that.
Are they down?
So it's 37-47 at halftime right now.
All right. It was Sixers had 38 at halftime and won.
Yeah, could happen.
What are we even real hoop fans doing a podcast during basketball?
We'll see the second half.
Yeah.
But I got the Celtics in 4 against the Bulls.
Got it. While we're here, let's just quickly say who is our ECF pick. So I have the Celtics beating the Knicks, basically. Yes, the Knicks beating the Pacers, and then the Celtics beating the Cavs, and then the Celtics beating the Knicks. Does anyone have a different take? Dan, what's your?
I mean, I'm riding the wave in Little Homer with the Pacers taking out your Knicks because of the pace of play and the speed and the basketball gods rewarding the state of Indiana for their bad college basketball.
They did with Caitlin Clark.
I do like the matchup. I think for everybody, if the Pacers and the Celtics could play, it just feels like old school Eastern Conference basketball too.
It would be fun to watch. I got Bucks Celtics. Celts in 5.
Frak, you also got Celtics coming out of these?
I can't say yet, man. I don't have all the information because honestly, if Giannis ramps up,
yeah, but that's the whole point of a prediction, bro.
Yeah, but my predictions mean something, like they manifest, so I got to be careful. But
you got a reputation uphold.
I think if Giannis ramps up, I would have the Bucks and Celtics going to 7, and probably the Celtics taking it. If Giannis doesn't ramp up, then I think the Celtics might run through shit.
All right, let's go to the West, guys.
Adam
Clippers.
Silver and all the NBA sponsors are rooting with you.
That's exactly.
Agreed.
That would be tremendous.
Clippers and Mavs. Dan,
Ooh.
Best series.
Now back now to the conference where there's talent.
Yeah.
Dan, how are we thinking about this?
I mean, do you, with Kawhi's knee, you're in the same boat? Like it's not as big of an impact as Giannis because they've showed that they're actually pretty good when they're just playing with two stars. This is a coaching thing. I just think Ty Lue is the ultimate savage, and Jason Kidd gets fixated, and that's going to be the difference. It's going to be the small things and the adjustments, and it's not going to have anything to. Luka's still going to score 40, and Kyrie's going to have unbelievable, and then it's just going to be the Clippers hang around, and Ty Lue pulls the strings in the fourth quarter of each of the games in a 7-game series.
So break this down for us a little bit. Like, what does Ty Lue do that J Kidd doesn't do?
I think J Kidd rides the stars. Obviously, you have to in that situation, and I think he swings for the fences. They've been very good lately, but I think it's because they finally told him what to run. I think Luka and Kyrie are finally like, no, this is what we're doing. This is going to keep everybody happy. So let's keep it in this wheelhouse. And I think that Ty Lue is reeled in James Harden to a pretty good degree and Russell Westbrook to a pretty good degree. And those guys do have very high basketball IQs, and they all benefit by listening. The Clippers have ball movement ability that I don't think the Pacers. They can make the extra pass. They can perimeter to post and put guys on their back. They can go high, low, guard to guard. Like, it's just a little bit different, where we know that if Mavs are going to be good, it's going to be because of cross-footed spinning layups and one-legged step backs. And as much as I want to see that, it's just not feasible with the way the game's going to be reffed. I don't see Kyrie and Luka getting to the free throw line 25 times each. And Tyler's going to be knocking them to the ground. Like, count. Like, do a shot every time somebody, Kyrie or Luka, gets knocked to the ground and there's no foul.
Yeah.
That's something we haven't talked about yet, how the calls are going to change. Even how they changed throughout the second half of the season. Even that play in the Warriors-Kings, like, they were beating the shit out of each other. And, like, is Lively going to finish through contact? Is Gafford going to finish through contact? Are they even going to be able to get the ball being contacted on the roll? I'm definitely looking at that.
So that favors the Clippers, the contact, you think?
Yeah.
I like Clippers in 7. They just have the depth that I don't think see the Mavs having. They're just too reliant on Luka and Kyrie. I think Man might have a big series. Powell just I like the Clippers over long term. Dan, what's your and how many games do you have?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Clippers in 6. And just another point of interest, I think that you could be looking at 2 coaches coaching for their job here too. So
Yeah.
I think that's just something to watch. Like when it goes into the huddle and you see the bags under their eyes and the fatigue, it's because this series could end one of those 2. This could literally be the death march for one of them.
Who else is coaching for their jobs? And you mentioned maybe Thibodeau. Maybe I don't know. Nurse only one season, so I don't know if he's coaching.
Nurse's first season, right?
You think everyone's? How many people are coaching for the jobs? Is it like half the teams, or
anybody who has a max player that's in whose contract's coming up? I mean, that's if the star wants you gone, now you're gone. I mean, we'll look at the Giannis situation. Look at if we haven't got to the Lakers. I mean, you could go through the whole list.
Okay, let's well, first, Reuben and Frak, what are your picks?
I'll go first, Frak. I'll be the contrarian Torenberg here. I got Mavs in 7.
Hell
I
yeah.
think it's going to be a freaking battle. And I think it's going to come down multiple games to the last play, where coaching is definitely going to play a big factor. But I just think the best player on the court is Luka, and I think he's playing better than I've seen him in past seasons, even though he's been elite the whole time. And I just think he's going to control the game when it matters most.
Yeah. Yeah, like to me this has like 7-game series written all over it. Like low key a rivalry between two like hot teams, I think. Um I was gonna go Mavs in 7, but when I heard Dan talk about coaching, that kind of is an X factor because I feel like Tyronn Lue is like the god of like adjusting and making it a tough series. I
He's the
also see what
ATO king too.
Yeah. And I see what Reuben's saying too, though. It feels like Luca has lost to this team twice in the first round in his career. Like this would be the year for him to like arrive and like beat them, and like he always cooks them. So like this would be the year for like it just makes sense in the story. If you're thinking of like the story of Luca's career, like this seems like would be the year to overcome the Clippers and like take his team, like hopefully to where he took the Warriors and maybe even further. You know the Mavs are hot, but people like Gafford, PJ Washington, Lively are unproven in the playoffs, and I think the Clippers have the better coach. So I'm gonna say Clippers in 7 for now, but it really depends on Kawhi's health.
Let's get to Suns and Timberwolves. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Suns in 6. I would love to see the big three put together a hell of a playoff run, and Grayson Allen and co step in and finally lock in on what's been a otherwise inconsistent year. Um, Towns is he out for the whole round?
No, he's back.
Oh, he's back. Damn.
He played in his final, maybe the last 1 or 2 regular season games, but
Yeah.
I think they lost both of them.
Dan, who do you got? How are you thinking about the series?
Well, I mean, again, the two big lineup is so fascinating. I think that Minnesota's wing defense is tremendous, and they've really done things that people 2 years ago no GM would have taken a risk like they've taken. So it's fascinating to watch them have so much success. And but they don't. I don't know if they have the streak shot making ability of the Suns. I'm going with the Suns in 6. I think the off court turmoil of the organization, having a small point guard, and actually probably hurts them with Towns coming back. As weird as that sounds, because he's playing. He's going to be playing for his brand, in my opinion, because he would love to be in a big market and he would love to be playing well that somebody oversells assets to get him, including the
Randall for Towns. Nick.
I thought he was going to say Brooklyn.
No.
Do you see that happening? Randall for Towns?
I don't. I mean, at this
Some
point,
ways they kind of like each other.
at this point, I just don't know if it's going to be the Louisville Timberwolves. I think is the bigger question.
Would you do
I think that's the more intriguing. We could talk about the stars, but like what they could like anything could happen with that thing. They could the guy could say no fans.
Erik, would you do Towns for Randall if you were Thibodeau? Or I guess
This Knicks podcast, man. All right, is this a Knick podcast?
I don't know. I'd have to think. Towns he's a better shooter, presumably. Probably, but I don't, how does he have attitude issues? Is I don't know. We're in a tough spot with Randall a little bit in terms of what we do there.
He's kind of a weirdo on these podcasts, and I don't know if you've heard his like 2 different voices. Has anyone heard that?
No, I haven't heard.
Yeah, he's a New Jersey product, but I actually
Does he have his own podcast? Carl
I
Anthony
think he
Towns?
appears on other podcasts. He came out last summer and said he was the best big man shooter to ever live, and it caused a stir. But I like him because he was a New Jersey product. But other New Jersey product and 6th man of the year, soon to be Naz Reid, is the one I'm watching in this matchup. I think he's the man. I love the way he plays. Whenever he comes in, he injects great energy and he shoots the shit out of the ball. But I also got Suns in 7. I just think also too much firepower. I think Edwards is incredible. I love him a lot. But when things get close and it comes down to the fourth quarter, I think their offense gets pretty stagnant. And he just tries to play a lot of hero ball, whereas the Suns got just way more options. And I actually think Nurkic has been a really, really great fit on this team, just serving as a hub and doing a lot of DHO, passing off the roll when he catches it in that mid post. I wonder where he's been over the last 6 years because he wasn't in Portland. But yeah, I've got Suns in 7.
It's weird, Reuben.
Go for it.
You go, Dan.
I was just going to say it is interesting because it plays into how are things refed. Nurkic will set the most illegal screens in the first round of the playoffs. And if he gets away with it, and again, it opens up those short rolls. I mean, I think if they allow real screening and real Euro rule screening from these guys, it's going to change some of the complexion of this. Again, you talk about Lively and catching lobs, but it's the same way. If you have Grant Williams out there and he's allowed to set the types of screens that actually should be allowed, or like Nurkic is able to really like lay some wood on people and they're not what. It's going to injure some people, which will be fun for the series and the gambling people. But B, it would change. Coaches would have to adjust. There's very few things that coaches will have to adjust to, but screening and guys flopping that lead to transition are two things to look out for in all series.
Yeah. It's interesting, Reuben, because I totally agree with you. Like the vibe test says that the Suns should be better in the fourth quarter, but they're like randomly like one of the worst clutch teams, and they have like 3 incredibly historical finishers, and I don't know why they just like kind of fumble in clutch time, which I think is definitely an issue in the playoffs. Although I think Book and KD at least will step up when it comes to playoff time. This is tough to me. I think it comes down to Gobert, because he's kind of become this like defensive player of the year, like has had such an amazing year, like maybe like all NBA third team like level year this year of like defense, but he's like kind of unplayable in the playoffs sometimes and has had a history of had to be taken out. And if the Suns go with their smaller lineup, like I could see him having to be taken out with the quick Suns.
Gobert will go home.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to go with the Suns in 7.
Yeah.
We're all Suns.
T-Wolves could pull it out. In some ways, I want them to be justified. I know their trade looked so dumb. They were the laughing stock of the league for trading 6 picks for Gobert. It's great that they've had this great season. Part of me wants to root for them, but I don't want to see Durant go out like that. So it's good for the Suns to win too. Let's segue to the next seed. Let's look at the Thunder versus whoever's going to win tonight, whether it's the Pels or let's look at the Nuggets versus Lakers. I'll say Nuggets in 6. I think it's somewhat generous to the Lakers, but I don't want them to go out without a fight, and it seems like they're a better team this year than last year. And it's who knows. Dan, what are you thinking?
I mean, if LeBron coaches the game, things could be a lot different than we're expecting. I think that he's given Darvin Ham the benefit of the doubt and wanted to make it work because they've already blown through some coaches. But at the end of the day, it's like I was kind of joking about the Celtics. If Darvin Ham just gets out of the way and LeBron and AD dictate what the lineups and rotations are going to be, I think it could be more interesting. I just don't think that that's going to happen. So I'm also going to say the Nuggets in 6, unless they have somebody take out Jamal Murray in the first game, which would be my strategy with illegal screens.
AD's healthy, right? That little back spasm thing wasn't real. Wait, nobody knows. All right. Someone's got to be the contrarian in the group.
You're gonna
This
say
might be
Lakers?
my heart talking. Lakers in 7. Here's why.
My bronze sexual brother.
I know he's broad curious. Nugs have not been touched by the injury bug. We're talking now 2 years. After getting hit with it a lot, maybe karma's with them another year. I'm skeptical. Michael Porter Jr., his back was messed up for like 6 years straight. All of a sudden, he's great. I mean, brother news aside, I just think that every game last season was really close. I think D'Angelo, I don't even think. I know D'Angelo played like shit. He's been a lot better. I think this team is playing well at the right time. LeBron, obviously he's been amazing forever, but I just think he's controlling the game, especially as of recent, much better than he has in the past. And if just a couple balls bounced their way last year, it's a much closer series. Obviously, the Nuggets are the better team. I think it's a tough prediction to make. Might ruin my credibility forever. But Lakers in 7.
All right, Frak. Are we returning to reasonableness, or what's your?
Hey, man, you got to do it, bro. You got to go for Braun. But I'm going to go Nuggets in 6.
Yeah,
I think it's just a bad matchup for the Lakers. Like, they lose to the Nuggets, like, really consistently, right? Like, I saw some stat that they just keep losing to the Nuggets. So
They lost all 4 times this season.
Jokic is just him, and it's really tough as it exposes all the weaknesses of the Lakers' perimeter defense, having people run around Jokic. And I just think the Nuggets are just primed to make another finals run this year. It seems like they're heating up at the right time.
Gordon also plays LeBron really well. I hate it.
Okay, now let's segue to the last series. Thunder versus whoever wins tonight of the Pelicans and the Kings. I'm just gonna say Pelicans, and I'm gonna say Thunder in 5. I would have loved if the Lakers would have played the Thunder, because I think Lakers could have won that, but I just see Thunder in 5. Dan, what's your take?
Well, first, I just want to point out that, Erik, as good as a intern as you were, and as much as I always respected the rebounding and work, Mark Degnaud probably ranks a little bit higher than you.
Oh, he was an intern?
IMG intern that has progressed into the basketball world.
Wow.
So,
It's a good alumni to be part of.
Yes, yes. So it's you, and then Jordy Fernandez, who is now the Brooklyn head coach.
Oh, wow.
Also a
Wow.
not an IMG alumni, but a Barto alumni of the kind of the rebounding days. But you were a little bit quicker to the ball than both of them.
It's the hardest I ever worked in my life. Was IMG?
Yep. Which I'm gonna go Thunder in 4, and no game is closer than 15 points.
Wow. Yeah.
All right.
And he's coach of the year.
He already got it.
Here you got it. Okay, great. Reuben, what's your pick?
I got Thunder in 5. I got them playing the Kings. No Zion tonight. I think what happened just freaking sucks. I feel terrible for Zion. He looked awesome, and he's been playing great all year. Like, I'm not blaming it on his weight or anything like that. Like, I think just the shitty thing happened at a shitty time. And I think the Kings are a really exciting squad. I just think the Thunder are an awesome team, and they got a lot of really good players, and they play beautifully together, and just seem to all really love playing together. And I really believe in that stuff. I always have. And I think people are, despite them being the 1 seed, are kind of counting them out a little too early. I think they're going to win this series and the next one.
We'll get to that next one in a second. Go for that.
I have one comment after you tell us the Thunder in 5. So,
yeah, Frak, what do you say?
Man, I got the Warriors. It's tough, man. Like you said, the Lakers. Like, I would have loved to see a Lakers or Warriors, like a veteran team against the new guys thing. Like this whole like Pelicans, Kings, Thunder just makes it just like the narratives get dry. I don't think it's going to be as a watch series, but I do think Kazan's missing. The Kings are going to make it tough. Like they don't have Monk or Herter, but the Kings were so tough against the Warriors. Like Keegan Murray and Keon Ellis.
Keon Ellis.
These guys really stepped up. And I think that, SGA versus Fox is going to be a sick matchup. So I guess I'd say Thunder in 6 just to make it a little more spicy. But
okay, Dan, what's your comment?
I was just going to comment that as you watch the Thunder too, they shoot the least amount of corner threes of any team in the NBA, which is interesting because that's when you watch Giddey and Shea get downhill so well. It's because the gaps are different defensively. Like you have to get your feet into the gaps and help into the gaps differently, especially in transition and trying to do things. And then again, it opens up when you don't just plant yourself in the corner, it opens up some rips and some opposite, drifts and 45 cuts and dump offs and reverse outs. So just offensively and strategically, if you do tune in, I always find that besides their personnel and their youth, I think there's some strategic things that they drill and teach and preach, and there's always these new phases of basketball. So this is one to kind of, what doesn't mean they don't go to the corner, but a lot of their stuff was, stop at the break, and teams are used to running to defend the corner. So it's just some things to look out at.
Because that's categorically still the most efficient shot, right? I did see that the Thunder have like 8 dudes shooting above 40% from 3.
Right.
Wow.
And then, and one of the theories is that the now with the paint touches just continuing to increase, there's less one more passes coming wing to corner or baseline and throw it to the corner, and there's more stuff coming at diagonals, like where you're catching it. So it's actually easier to pitch it back to the break than it is to stop and try to throw it to the corner. And then that guy, you're bringing it across your body and up the outside of your body. And it's just a lot more levers in motion when the passes are coming inside out versus the one more, kick was so popular for the last 10 years.
Yeah. Let's go back into the next round. Now that we've done the first round of the West, who do you guys have coming out of the Western Conference Finals? Reuben, I'll have you say your pick first.
Thunder, Mavs.
Wow. And you have Thunder winning? You have the Mavs going to the finals.
Yep.
And you have Celtics winning?
Yep.
Kyrie versus Boston, part 2.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, Dan, how are you thinking about it?
I'm going Thunder and who is it? What are the matchups in the second round? It's
Denver or Clippers, I think is what you got.
No. Thunder would be playing the Clippers in the second round, and then Denver would be playing the Suns.
Right. Yeah. So I'm going Thunder Suns with the Suns Celtics final.
Wow. And Celtics winning?
And yes, and the Celtics winning and Adam Silver finding everybody.
Finding everybody?
Yes.
Oh, just because it's for what?
Because it's 4-0, yeah, and he needs 7 games would make us so much more money. So we're gonna have a 32-team play-in weekend in Dubai to make up the difference.
Do you think there's any team that could give Celtics, take Celtics to 7, or is it just they're just the best team by
Denver?
Me personally, yeah, I think Denver can, but I think.
But you got them losing to LeBron.
I do. I'm the only one that has that.
I think the Suns. I think the Suns are the better matchup against the Nuggets, but I think the Nuggets would be a better foe for the Celtics if we won an actual competitive finals.
My logic flow is that whoever comes out of the West is going to be so dead from just the level of
Mm,
competition that it's going to take to get there that they're not
tough.
going to be able to match up against the Celtics.
I'm thinking Nuggets versus the winner of that Mavs Clippers series. I think that Mavs Clippers series. I mean, it's tough to say that because the Clipper, like, is Kawhi going to be able to last the whole thing? But I'm just envisioning the playoffs at its most ideal with everyone staying healthy, right? That I think the Clippers or Mavs after that series, it's going to be, I think they'll beat that Thunder team. Either of those teams would beat that Thunder team. And I think that it's going to come down to the Nuggets. And I got the Nuggets winning, and I got the Nuggets beating the Celtics. I think the Nuggets, that's a good matchup for the Nuggets. I think they won most of the regular
Yeah, I think they
season
won
games.
both matchups. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I had it wrong then. It can't be Thunder Mavs in the conference finals because it would be Thunder Mavs in the second round. So I'd have Mavs beating the Thunder, and then I'd have Suns beating the Lakers, and then I'd have Mavs beating the Suns. Ooh, that would be spicy.
Wow. That would be.
Yeah, the series, the WCF I want to see is Mavs Suns or Clippers Suns, but I feel like it's just going to be Nuggets Thunder, and I think Nuggets are going to win that, and then I think Celtics are going to beat the Nuggets in 6 or 7. Um, I feel like that's a safe pick, but
Yeah, you're
there's a
going
lot
with
of
Stark.
anything could happen. So yeah, it's gonna be a hell of a playoffs. I'm excited in future episodes for us to break down the games, break down what we would be doing if we were specific coaches, but then also pretty soon break down the as certain teams get eliminated, break down the off season. Dan kind of hinted at through a cliffhanger, hey, this is going to be the biggest or one of the biggest off seasons in terms of transitions, in terms of activity, and so I'd love to us to break down, hey, what would we be doing if we're certain teams? What are certain teams kind of calculus leading up to next season? Um, and one question, maybe we can end with this one, is like, is it fair to say, Dan, that Thunder have done the best sort of sort of transition rebuilding executive job over the last decade, even, or would you put another team above them?
I think that they've, I mean, I think that they are the humblest, and what I mean by that is they've brought executives back to their franchise that have gone and left. They've promoted a coach from the lowest levels of the G League all the way up. Like their organizational alignment and ability to learn from their mistakes and wanting to learn from other organizations' mistakes and understanding of the salary cap and how to kind of maximize it. I mean, they're not the most active team in making trades, but they're probably in the top five. And they've drafted high hip, long wingspan, shifty players that have low ground, foot contact to the ground, and guys that they think they can make their shots more efficient. So, I mean, I can't argue the point right right now for especially if you're talking about value investing, value investing from that standpoint that they are the model. Yes.
And of course they haven't won a championship yet, but I mean, looking out at the next 10 years, it feels like with their youth, with the assets that they have, it feels like they're just in a really good position. In terms of already proven out, it feels like Celtics and Nuggets have done a pretty great job over the last few years. But yeah,
Are you going to mention Wemby?
as what? I mean, it's a good first pick.
I mean, teams that can win in the next 10 years. And I don't know if it's great GMing. It's just you got the first pick when Wemby was in the draft, and he's that dude.
And
it would go for it.
well, and again, I mean, and I think it's what'll be interesting with Oklahoma City. Like, does 2 stars work better, or does 3 stars work better?
Yeah,
Does three American stars and 2 international frontline guys work better? What is the mix? What is how
how many young guys? There's so many questions and so many avenues that can be explored. And like you just said, like the Nuggets and Celtics. I mean, they're two injuries away from being. I mean, I had Auburn in the first to win the NCAA tournament, and the guy gets thrown out of the first game. And I had Kentucky in one of my other polls, and the guy hits 11 threes. Like 7-game series are so weird, but I think that's the beauty of basketball year in and year out compared to other sports.
You know what's crazy about the future of the NBA too is that all the like pretty much like a majority of the future good teams are also in the West. So the West has all this current top talent, which is incredible. And then they have the Grizzlies, the Rockets, the Spurs, the Thunder, who are already on top. Teams like the Pelicans you can count. Even like the Trailblazers. We'll see what happens to them. Sorry, Ruben. But like, there's so much, and all these good teams. And then the East, like all the East bad teams, like obviously I could see the Hornets maybe being good one day, but it's like they have like all these kind of teams going nowhere. So it's like the West is even better now, but it's even going to be better coming up in the future. I think there's going to have to like some serious looking at like the conference system because it might start getting unfair.
Yeah, I just wish that the games could start an hour earlier on the West Coast.
Yeah,
these 10:30 playoff games are going to be brutal for the next 4 weeks. But
yeah,
you guys,
well, maybe that's it.
I'll live it.
Yeah, that's a good place to wrap for a first episode. Reuben, Frak, Dan, thank you, and looking forward to more Hoops Talk soon.